The most stunning ending will make you feel things. It will make you feel angry. Razor sharp dialogues. She emerges victorious. Bewildering, shocking, and the most emotional book. Her remarkable ability to balance intensity and sensitivity. Hi everyone, as 2024 wraps up, today we are doing my favorite type of video I absolutely love to watch on other channels. I'm sharing with you my top picks for the best books of the year. Here are 10 reads that truly stood out for me in 2024. And to make it more fun, I invented a category for each of the books. Let's dive in. We start with the category of the best debut novel. This is not a debut of this year. This is a debut I happened to read this year. And the winner here is a bruised depiction on adulthood and on disillusion with life's expectations and standards the society have set for us. I had some difficulty with this category because Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason got very close to the top, and I still highly recommend it, but in the end, Sorrow and Bliss didn't stay with me the way this book has. And the book I'm talking about is At the Table by Claire Powell. It is a story of a family of two grown-up siblings and their parents, and we witness their dynamics and how their individual worlds unravel following the news that the parents are getting a divorce. And yes, there is some focus on food as the story develops over family lunches and dinners. However, what stands out in this book for me the most is the character of Nicole, the highly successful woman in her professional life, but we get to go on the journey of her searching for meaning in life and searching for self-identity. There are some razor sharp dialogues in here and an accurate psychological analysis of human condition, and especially the issues of a person in their 30s and the challenges they may grapple with in this modern world. The writing here is so realistic and so good. I honestly cannot believe this is a debut novel. And for the second category, we have the best protagonist. I was really surprised by how much I liked this character and how much I admired her inner strength, her wit, and her resilience. I'm talking about Circe from Madeline Miller's book of the same title. While this is a retelling of her Greek myth, the essence of the story goes far beyond that. It's a tale about battling the limitations imposed by society and about the struggle to find oneself in a world that ostracizes and underestimates you. What makes the key character Circe stand out? She doesn't seek power or dominance, she just seeks love. And despite various betrayals and disappointments she faces, Circe finds her own way and refuses to let others define her. When I think of Circe, I cannot help but to think of other heroines like Elizabeth Salander from The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or Kia from Where the Crawdads Sing. Circe represents someone who the world tries to punish and victimize, and yet somehow in her own way she emerges victorious. Give me a protagonist like that any single day. One who fights for her truth and triumphs quietly but powerfully. Category number 3 is second chance book. By second chance book, I mean a book I started once and dropped it, but then picked it up again and finished it and loved it. The book that has won this category for me is about life struggles, about what it means not only to be a mother and a daughter, but also what it means to be human. Of course, I'm talking about My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout. The unique prose used here, that perhaps in any other book would feel like rambling, here it adds credibility to the experience of us having a front row seat to a very honest, very raw exploration of a woman trying to make sense out of life, having have lived through a very difficult and tough upbringing. I highly recommend this book, especially if you like books such as Educated by Tara Westover, which is a memoir, not a novel, but nevertheless, if you enjoy those sort of books, I think you will enjoy this one as well, because they have similar theme, the theme of reconciling the tension between the key characters' origins and the person they have become. For the next category, we have the book that made me laugh the most. In this funniest book, the author does something seemingly so simple, but she makes it extraordinary. I am talking about Good Material by Dolly Alderton. She basically takes an aftermath of a romantic disaster, weaves into it a question on what it means to be your best self, and sprinkles it with the most sharply funny and astute dialogue. It is hilarious, and it will definitely make you laugh out loud, but it is hilarious in a way that is also moving, with its commentary on complexities of a life of a 30-year-old man who is in crisis. There is no grand plot, and yet it's an absolute page turner. Category number 5. Here we have the best psychological thriller, but this is not a category with focus on whodunit or the twist, although towards the end of the winning novel there is a surprising discovery. Instead, the winning novel here is an exquisite psychological and emotional character study, delving into complexities of trauma, into morality, into origins of evil, and this is all done with the added benefit of unreliable narrator, my favorite thing. If you've watched my other videos, the choice will come as no surprise. It is, of course, Girl A by Abigail Dean. Yes, I can't stop talking about this book, and I will not stop talking about this book because I genuinely believe it hasn't received the attention it deserves. Girl A introduces us an adult female protagonist who is forced to confront the traumatic past of escaping a house where she and her siblings endured abuse. But the story isn't just about survival. It's a profound exploration of how disappointment and bitterness and neglect can lead to the birth of evil, and how that evil can turn into the most mundane, everyday sort of thing. The author, Abigail Dean, masterfully weaves together timelines, gives us a slow but compelling a trickle of information about Lex and her siblings. This book is a must read for the fans of sharp objects, for the fans of Gone Girl, The Girl on the Train, The Marsh King's Daughter, or Where the Crawdads Sing. What I love about Dean's writing is her remarkable ability to balance intensity and sensitivity in her writing. I am already counting days to the release of her new book, which is due in April next year. For those of you who do enjoy a good twist in a story, you won't be disappointed because the next category is for you. And the winner here is a thriller that has the most stunning ending. This book will have your heart pounding as you read it. And in the race to the top of my rating, it even overtook the book Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Finney, which got very, very close. However, the book that has won this category for me is The New Wife by J.P. Delaney. The suspense here in this book is so deliciously sustained throughout the whole story. And yes, it is set during the summertime, but you don't want to wait until the summer to read this book. It is dark, it is ambiguous, it is gripping, and it will have you on the edge of your seat, I promise. Now, after all that drama, we need a category for the most cheerful read. This next book has found a special place in my heart. It talks about ordinary lives, but the way it does it, these ordinary lives are elevated through the way they are presented to us, through the wonderful writing, and especially a nuanced and quiet sense of humor. The book I'm talking about is Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hashin. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but the two key characters are different from your usual novel characters. They are just very, very ordinary and not very aspirational, and yet there's such a depth to them. They try so hard to stay true to themselves. And even though not much really happens in this book, you will not want it to end. This book is a mastery that has managed to show kindness and gentleness in everyday life, not boring at all. Now, on to the category of the most bewildering, shocking, and the most emotional book. And the book that is a winner for me in this category is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. The fact that this is a classic written nearly 200 years ago and it can still evoke such intense emotions in the reader is frankly nothing short of astonishing. We have a story about obsession. We have a story about childhood trauma, the devastating effects of a lack of love. We have a tale of ghosts, a critique of the social class system, and a reflection on the value of education as well. But at its heart, it's about an all-consuming, obsessive love and what really probably today we would call a toxic relationship. But of course, we need to remember that it was wrapped in the romanticized context of its time. Despite the era it was written in, this book will still shake you to your core if you haven't read it. It's impossible not to be emotionally moved, and you will find yourself compulsively turning page after page after page. The less you know about this book, the better. Don't watch any movie adaptations, don't watch any TV adaptations, just read it. I thought I would also throw into the mix a non-fiction book, and since I enjoy personal development books, I had to include one from that category. And the standout for me this year has been a book that explores a simple yet powerful concept of how the compounding effects of our tiniest actions and tiniest decisions we make every day shape our lives. And the best thing about this concept is its hugely wide application. It's basically a principle we all either embrace or overlook, but it applies to absolutely everyone. And the book I have in mind is Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Especially if you're new to personal development books, I think this particular book is good because it's extremely accessible. It's written in a simple language. The audiobook is also very good. And the book is generally motivational and it's very uplifting because it's just reassuring to know that success isn't some magical event reserved for other people. It's something you have the power to create yourself through consistent effort and intentional choices. And finally, we come to the overall best book I've read this year. A spectacular novel that has stayed with me since I finished it in early September, I think. Even though it's a work of historical fiction, I urge even those of you who don't usually gravitate towards this genre to give it a chance. This story is so much more than historical fiction. It's a profound tale of compassion, coming of age in times of turmoil, a tale of love, tale of self-identity. It is told with such tenderness. It will absolutely break your heart. I am, of course, talking about Brotherless Night. Yes, it might seem predictable because it's the winner of the 2024 Women's Prize for Fiction, but no other book I've read this year deserved that honor more than this one, in my opinion. Yes, it's sad and deeply moving, and yes, it will make you feel things. It will make you feel angry and outraged, but more than anything, it offers an honest insight into the human condition and how we are all shaped and sometimes broken by our circumstances. And what makes this novel truly extraordinary and especially tender is its narrator, a 16-year-old girl called Sashi, whose dream of becoming a doctor is shattered by the civil war happening in Sri Lanka in the 80s. Through her eyes, we see not only her own struggles, but also the devastating impact of conflict on her family, including her 4 brothers, but also her mother, her father, her friends, people she thought she knew all her life, or suddenly drawn into the violence, forced to make choices that lead to harm. And she goes through this journey of trying to find some kind of comprehension of it all. It's an absolutely heartbreaking, absolutely beautifully told story that left no doubt in my mind why this book deserved its accolades. And it is the one book I have not stopped thinking about every single day since I've read it. So this is my list, and now you tell me what books have stood out for you this year. I would love to hear your recommendations so that I can include them in my reading list for 2025. Thank you for watching, wishing you all an amazing Christmas, and I will see you next week.